First, we have to accept that COVID is an airborne disease. People don't know there are different ways of catching a viral respiratory infection. One of them is touching surfaces and having someone else touch that surface and touch their face. We don't think that's a major way that people get COVID anymore. Maybe a handful of people have got it that way, but it's not profoundly important. So washing your groceries, stuff that a lot of us did back in the day, probably not as important. Mm-hmm. Deep cleaning, not as important. Do they get it from droplets? So droplets is when we exhale, and then these large droplets around 5 microns or larger come out of our mouth and nose and fall to the ground within 1 or 2 meters, which is why we have that 2-meter distancing rule. And if you're going to walk within 2 meters, we assume you wear a mask so that if a droplet falls on your face, it's not going to touch your face and be inhaled by you. Airborne viruses is where airborne transmission is when the droplets are smaller than 5 microns in general and can linger in the air for hours and sometimes drift for many, many meters. In fact, an infected person go into a room, exhale virus, leave the room, someone else walks into an empty room, inhales it, and gets infected. That's kind of what we're dealing with here.